two worlds. You have China's world, and then you have the rest of the world. And that's how China looks at it, too. They have a domestic world that they control. They control everything. What? They're desperately short resources. No one accepts RMB as payment because it's just funny money. China purports to be the second largest economy in the world at 15% of global GDP, and yet less than 1% of cross-border settlements in the world settle in RMB. I think they could have their world of make-believe, of printing RMB and running their economy and convincing the world, but the denominator is inflation, so they massively underreport inflation. That's just a fallacy, but I think that can go on for a long period of time, as long as they're growing their reserve balance, as long as they're growing their working capital, which is imports and exports, FX reserves, they can keep playing with their domestic economy and playing with the printing press. But if you look at industrial activity, we're going to skip forward but if you look at pure subcomponents of China's industrial production, they've been contracting their economy. They contracted their fiscal impulse beginning Q1 of 2016. They were running a 15% of GDP fiscal deficit at the end of 2015. From now on, we'll have a negative current account.
Right.
They're starting to look more and more like Argentina and Turkey and the other twin deficit countries. Because what are they doing? They're running a negative current account. They're running a negative fiscal balance of roughly 9% of GDP. So they're running twin deficits. Their FX reserves are dwindling. And they're starting to borrow a lot of dollars.
So how much of the FX reserves is liquid out of what's left?
So, you look at US...
What's the composition of that now?
Well, first of all, if you remember, when they were let into the IMF SDR basket, they said they would disclose the composition of their reserves within 2 years. Well, that was a long time ago, and we haven't seen it. So we think that their only liquidity that they have any size of is our treasuries. Is dangerously below adequate level. The broad measure of credit in the Chinese financial system is $48 trillion worth of RMB. They only have $2 trillion of reserves. So without Western capital flowing into China, China can't hold this all together. But what's interesting about China is this gives them the confidence globally to be more geopolitically assertive in their dealings. It's given their military the ability to be much more assertive in the South China Sea. And it's given he's made the West think that somehow his economy, his economic model is superior to that of Western capitalism. And it's all a facade. The whole thing is a mirage. The whole thing is made up with the printing press, keeping a closed capital account, and hoping the world doesn't notice it. I think whether you're looking through the National Security Council or the U.S. Trade Reps Office or the Department of Commerce or the U.S. intelligence agencies or the president and his own views, I think everyone has finally come to a conclusion, independently and yet collectively, that a global reset of our relationship with China has to be had. It's the militaristic aggression in the South China Sea. It's their industrial policy that circumvents WTO rules. It's espionage and theft and the lying, cheating, and stealing that the Chinese do. We have to figure out how to stop it. We were just talking about their reserve number might only be $2 trillion.
That's right.
So if they're going to lose another $100 billion a year in tariffs, that's a